Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to season 6 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by Craig Parks. Craig has worked with kids for decades as a camp director, kids musician, and a proud dad of 2. His A to E parenting method has helped many parents lift the mundane into the memorable and increase the joy of parenting while reducing the stress. He's trained hundreds of people how to effectively work with children to elicit their best and be lifted by the experience. This week, Craig is going to share how music has inspired him and how he uses music to help parents make a positive impact within their own families. He'll also share how the kids' music he has written has affected his parenting style as well. As always, Craig and I are going to get to know each other a little better through 4 songs. 2 are Craig's pick and 2 are mine. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. With that, let's get started. Craig, I'm so excited to have you on the show and talk about how you're using music in your parenting. So please tell me, what are you listening to this week?
This week, I'm listening to Let Me Get By the Tedeschie Trucks Band and Stash by the band Phish.
Yes, 2 good picks. And I think right off the bat, it's clear that you love a jam band. So I'm really excited to have conversations about both of these groups. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the first song. Tell me why Let Me Get By was your first pick this week.
I love this band. I've seen them live a ton of times. I'm a guitar player and I'm a guitarist, and Derek Trucks is arguably the greatest slide guitar player in the world, and he's one of the best guitarists in the world. So just from a musical standpoint, I love that. They have a full band, 2 drummers, a full horn section, backup vocalist, and then Susan Tedeschie fronting the band. She's got so much soul in her voice. And you mentioned I've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter and I've got a son. And for my daughter, I love exposing her to really strong, powerful, creative women because I want her fully stepping into all of her power as well. And Susan Tedeschie just in all of her musicality steps into her power. And this song in particular, even lyrically, Let Me Get By, get out of my way. It's like, there's no stopping this woman. So it's got a great groove. It's soulful. It's got amazing solos. It's got everything. So that's one of the reasons why I'm listening to that.
Yeah, it's so I always call out whenever somebody brings an artist or a song to the show that has never featured before. And this is one of those. This is an instance we've not ever had a Tedeschie Trucks Band song, and this is such a good one to feature for that. Actually, both the bands that you picked this week have not ever featured on the show, so that's that's a high honor, Craig. It doesn't happen a lot whenever we get 2 bands that have never been on the show before, and you managed to do it. So I was really glad you brought this song.
I might make it to your Hall of Fame, into the Hall of Fame guest.
You really might, because it's rare. Sometimes people will bring like one band, but for both bands to have never been featured on the show before, it's a high honor. And legendary. Again, these are 2 classics. There you go. You're legendary. You're an icon already. On what are you, a way-lit icon. But I love that you said that about, the song resonating with your daughter and wanting to expose her to powerful female artists. Definitely this song, I think anytime I've seen them, there's been no less than like 12 musicians on the stage at any given time. It's just amazing to watch them all perform together. And I love, like you mentioned, I love the message of this song. Like, let me get by. If you're just going to stand there, like, get out of my way. Do you know what I mean? It's like stay stuck if you want to, but don't hold me up with your stuckness, And so I dig that. And I think it's such an important message, as you were saying, for women, especially, and young girls, but also to when parenting, I think we can get caught up in like, oh, you're not supposed to do this. Oh, you're supposed to do this. Oh, you can't feed your kid this. Oh, you have to do this. And I think really a lot of times, sort of the connection of parenting, or sort of that piece of making a connection with your kids, gets lost because you're so concerned about sort of just the practicality of parenting. Do you know what I mean? So can you tell me a little bit about your parenting A to E method? Like, what is the A, what is the E? Share with me a little bit of like what that means and sort of how and why you developed it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Jen, I think you really nailed it. Like, it's so easy to get lost in the practicality of parenting. Like, got to get the meal on, got to make sure that they're taking their bath, got to make sure they're waking up and they're out the door, like all that stuff. And then for me, I realized, oh, wait a minute. Those actually are the moments for connection, because we
Mm,
often think about, well, I'm going to take my kid to Disneyland. And you could take your kid to Disneyland and they will remember that day. But most of parenting is not that day. Most of parenting is the everyday slog of getting through everything. And so for me, I put together a course because this is what I had interest in, is like, I want those everyday moments to be special and memorable. So the A in the course stands for affect. And what affect is the kind of physical manifestations of our emotions that run through our body and our voice. So our body affect and our vocal affect. Because ultimately, we're walking around this planet, all we have is our body and our voice to work with. So if we can learn how to master that as parents and understand how to maximize our affect for connection, oh my gosh, parenting and our relationship goes to a whole nother level of joy, fun, and connection. And the E, so A, affect, to E is the effect, the effect or the effectiveness
okay.
that we want in the kind of relationship we say we want with our kids. If we want a trusting, warm, sweet, loving relationship, if that's the effective relationship we want, we have to master our affect. Because if we don't have control of our own body and voice, and we're losing our stuff all the time, that is going to create a lot of disconnect. So my course is really broken down into kind of three modules, which is, the first one is, I teach how do you use your full body, your face, your head, your shoulders, your arms, your hands. How do you use that? And then how do you use your vocal affect? And so the first module is that. And these videos, they're short, right? Because I know parents don't have a lot of time. 3 to 5 minutes
Yeah.
max. You get it. Boom, you can instantly use this information. And then the second module is 14 songs that I wrote for the everyday moment. So you can use your affect and your voice in these songs. So I have a song for waking up, lullaby for bedtime. I've got a song for when you give your kid a bath. I've got a song for when you want to just play and dance with them. I've got a song for teaching them compassion, for people who have special needs. So like values-based stuff as well. So it's just a lot of fun. A song for washing your hands. And then the third module is 10 activities that parents can do that are screen free and that don't cost anything, really fun. And if parents do these things ritualistically, if you sing to your kid every night and it's the same song, they will always remember their childhood in those moments. And I remember thinking back to my first grade year, Mrs. Andrino. I don't remember a lot about the day to day of first grade, and probably most people don't. But the one thing that she did every day at the end of the day is she sang the same song. So here I am decades
Yeah.
later, and I still remember, goodbye, everybody. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Right. And it made me think, if one song done ritualistically gets lodged in my memory, I can do that with my own children. And in terms of
Yeah.
having music and having rituals that are joyful, connecting, and fun, so that when they're 20 and 30 and 40 and they look back on their childhood, they're gonna have a lot of very sweet memories in the mundane parts of what it was to grow up.
Well, and I feel like music helps you connect really organically, right? Because like you can look at the songs that are in, module 2 of your course and take those and then after you figure out what resonates with your child or what they like, then you open up to the whole universe of music that's out there, and you can apply those same tactics in in what feels to me, and I think other people that are listening to the show are probably music lovers, and in our safest, most comfortable, happiest place, right? Talking about music. So it's easier to connect for me with other people, even with my daughter, when I feel like it's coming from an organic place. And so I love that music is sort of the foundation of this. And on top of that, music also helps you remember. I mean, think of all the things when you talk about elementary school that are set to music so that you can remember them, whether it's the state capitol song, whether it's the ABCs, whether it's, I mean, I can still sing the cleanup song. Like you were just saying, the goodbye song from first grade. I can tell you the cleanup song from my daughter's nursery school, clean up, everybody,
Right,
everywhere.
right.
Like
Yeah.
most people know that, right? And so it sticks with you differently when it's set to music. So I love that this sort of gives you an opportunity not only to lodge a memory and lodge it in a different space in your brain because it has music attached to it, but also the opportunity to create organic connection through music that you and your children love. So I think that that's just really magical, and I think that's why I was so excited, whenever you and I first spoke, because that's something that resonated with me as a kid. It was a connection point for my dad and my mom as well, but especially my dad. And it's a connection point for my daughter and I. And so I love that there's sort of a methodology attached to it that you've created that helps perpetuate that. And again, there's plenty of amazing music out there, whether it's your original music, whether it's some of the songs we're going to talk about today, or listeners chime in, tell us what songs we're missing, tell us what songs you connect with your children on. I think that that's a really interesting topic, and there's a lot there. So let's talk about your second pick, because this feels like a fun pick also for kids. That just I can just see like my daughter and I dancing around the living room to this one whenever she was little. So tell me what your second song was.
All right. So my second song is Stash by the band Phish. And, they've been the original lineup, the same four people been together for over 40 years. And the
That's
music they
crazy.
make, yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And the particular version that I chose to me is one of the greatest examples of tension and release. They just know how to
Mm.
build like all this tension, and they just keep, they just elevate themselves and the audience. Like there's such connection between the band and the audience. And I love their improvisation, and I love the tension. I love the buildup. There's so much energy in it, and in this particular song,
Yeah.
there's fan interaction where there's parts where
Yep.
the band stops, right, and the audience is going. So I mean,
Yep.
there's so much there, and if you ever get a chance to see them live, do not miss that opportunity. It's an incredible experience.
It really is. It's a very communal experience too. Like everybody at the Phish show is there because they love Phish and they love music. And so if you want to be in a place where there are a ton of fellow music lovers, a Phish concert is maybe one of the best places you can drop into. And I love that you mentioned too, I always ask guests if they bring a live version of a song, like why the live version? And it sounds like the reason you love this is similar to the reason I do. And it's the connection, right? You can tell what kind of a connection this band has with their fans when you listen to this live version. People are just like, it's like you said, also like the build and the release, like people are just waiting for the part where they get to participate. And I think it comes through on this version so much better than, the regular studio recording of this version. And also in this, I think the original version was on, a picture of Nectar
Richard
album,
Nectar,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
maybe
Look at
from
you, Jen.
92.
Very
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
I know. Look at that. I'm pulling out some old school Phish data, but this one was off of, a Live One album. This one was from the mid 90s, from 95. But I think that this live version captures what they were trying to create with this song. And I've said too, like, this song is almost like Dr. Seuss set to music. Do you know what I mean? Like the lyrics are kind of kooky and
Yeah.
funny, and it always makes me think of like the Lorax or like some of the other crazy characters that pop out from a Dr. Seuss Sue's story. And so I like talking about this band as well in reference to parenting. I wasn't a big like kids music per se in the house when when my daughter was little, because I was always like, there's so much wacky stuff out there. If she wants to listen to a 12-minute song, I can put on Phish for her. I can put on the Grateful Dead. If she wants to hear something silly, we can listen to something from Sergeant Pepper's or Yellow Submarine. Like there's always something. If she wants something that is like wacky, almost like a nursery rhyme to the point of being kooky, They Might Be Giants comes to mind. Like there's
Yeah.
so much stuff out there, that I think you can really find a way to make that connection via lots of different bands. So I think sometimes people are intimidated, like, well, I don't really want to listen to kids music, or that doesn't resonate with me. Okay, well, if it doesn't resonate with you, it's kind of not supposed to. It's for your kid. But if you can find something, if you really can't get your head around it, there's also like plenty of regular, I'm air quoting, regular music that can be used as well, to sort of form those connections. Do you agree with that? Like really any sort of music can kind of be used for
Yeah.
this, like
Yeah. Well, it's
connection time with your kids?
yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because, when I was growing up, my dad, he worked really hard. He often worked 7 days a week. I didn't have as much time with him as I would have liked. And he didn't have as much time as he would have liked with us. I think, there's some regret there, but the one thing that is really strong is that when he was there, my dad used to play music all the time, and he'd pop on Elton John and the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and the Who, and he'd put me up on his shoulders and go dance around the house with him. And that's a really, really strong memory. So that was all like what's now considered classic rock, but then it was just the music that was coming out in the day.
Right.
And, and it's interesting though, because when my son was born, he's 21 now, my daughter is 10. Um, there's a kids artist, Justin Roberts, who writes great music, great kids music. And it's not like the kids music of Raffi, and Raffi's great as well. Right. But Justin Roberts writes music that adults are like, man, this is happening. This is cool. Like great melodies and great hooks. Right. But the themes are kid themes that are like clever and fun and funny. And so like there's kids music out there nowadays that is really can satisfy both. The music that I wrote for this course is definitely more geared towards parents. Actually, it's not to put on and just groove to. I mean, there's a couple of tunes that
Right.
can do that, but most of it is really designed for parents to sing to their kids, because the power of
Great.
a parent's own voice singing to kids. I know a lot of parents are like, well, I can't sing, but the thing that they need to understand is that their 3 and 4-year-old is not sitting there going, Dad or Mom, you're a little pitchy today. They're like, to a 3 and 4-year-old, the voice of their loving parent is the voice of love. Like it is the voice they want to hear. And when that voice
Yeah.
is actually singing to them in sweetness and sweet moments, whether it's washing your hands or waking them up, wake up, it's breakfast time this morning. It's like, then,
Yeah.
right, the kids are when they hear that ritualistically every day, they're like, it's comforting. Like those are the sounds of comfort.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that makes so much sense, and I think that, and I think that kids look for ways to play with their parents, that are a little that are not just like sitting down and playing cars or dolls or pretend or cooking in the kitchen or like some of the traditional things that you do. I think it like I notice not only with just my daughter but my young nieces, like they love it when we are actually playing, like whether it's singing something and them singing back a response, or us like getting our hands dirty and making mud pies or whatever the case may be, like those moments that we're actually like playing together, not just in the same room or not just talking to one another, but engaging in a playful way. I think that that makes meaningful connection and memories. And I think that that's a lot easier to do with music than it is with silence. Like it's a little bit harder, I think, to create that magic when you don't have music or something that's organically going to make you move. And make you engage in what it is that you're saying or singing or how you're interacting with the person with you. So I like that it's that it is interactive, that it is playful, that it is meant to create a memory, and that there's also like a message in there, right? You know, it's like there's good stuff in there too. So I love all of that, and I think I've seen how impactful music has been for my dad and I as a connection point, how impactful it's been for my daughter and I as a connection point, how impactful it's been for you and your family and the hundreds of families that you've worked with. I mean, there's got to be something there, right? Like we can't be wrong. It's not a fluke that we've all seen such great results and these amazing memories and connections that have been created through music. So I love that there's a framework for it and you've created an actual like guideline and plan to follow. I wish it would have been around whenever whenever my daughter was little. I think I would have really embraced it and not done sort of a remedial version like I have without all of the experience. But I know how important it's been to she and I's connection and continues to be. And that's a nice segue for me, I think, into my first pick this week. As I was listening to your songs and just being surprised that we had not had any real like jam bands on the show before, I was like, I really can't believe this. So I kind of got into that genre while I was listening. And I found a song that I've loved for a long time. And then this was also one that my daughter always wanted to hear whenever she was little. So it came to mind as well and seemed appropriate for this episode. I've been wanting to bring this band for a while and it just never sort of worked. But my first pick this week is a song called In a Daydream by the Freddie Jones Band. And this is a band from Chicago that formed in 1990. And no one in the band is actually named Freddie Jones. Cute little tidbit there. They just chose that name. Not like Tedeschie truck bands where people are always like, is that a vehicle? I'm like, no. It's the two founders of this one. There is actually no Freddie Jones. So we've got a little bit of a little bit of trickery in our artist here this week. But I feel like, this band is one that their message is simple. It's easy to understand. And this song just creates sort of like a perfect day vibe for me, right? Like I feel like if I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling like, oh, it's dreary and rainy outside, like this song just makes me happy. Like it just pulls me out of whatever funk I'm in. It's an instant good mood. It's an amazing song to drive to. I think I described this song as like an audio bite of chocolate. Like it's rich and simple and it makes me feel better after I listen to it. And so I think my daughter saw the power that this song had to sort of affect my mood. And so she loved it too. Was this a song that you were familiar with? Is this a song that you knew? What did you think of this?
No, it's not a song that I knew, but when I turned it on, I mean, again, as a guitar player, I was like, wow, there's some really, really interesting guitar work. I mean, I totally see how it affects your mood. Like the guitar lines,
Yeah.
like they kind of pump you up and they lift you. It's a very lifting kind of a song. I loved it.
Yeah, it is. And I think, I don't know if this factors into the course at all, but do you ever work with families and using music to help them sort of like process through emotions? Like if a child's feeling sad, like here's a great song to help you release some of that sadness. Or, like we're talking about a song like In a Daydream. Here's a song that can really, again, I loved what you said about like it lifted you up. Like the guitar line is very lifty. Like, are there ways that you work with music in terms of like helping families process or express emotion through song? Does that ever come up?
Well, so my son is actually on the autism spectrum. And so there's a lot that's been with, having to raise a kid on the spectrum and also running summer camps where I had a lot of kids with special needs.
Hmm.
You know, there's a lot of feelings that come up with that, both for the kids with special needs and those who are around them, families. And so I wrote a song called Give and Get, which is really an opportunity to build compassion and have
Hmm.
people also understand that when you really look at all of us human beings, we all have special needs, right? Some people might have nut allergies. Some people might need more sleep than others. Some people might need a quieter environment or have sensory thing. Like we all have something, right? And
Yep.
so to help people not feel so alone in the world and know that like we all have something. And so let's extend grace to one another and build a more sweeter, loving, peaceful world, because that's, I think, ultimately what we all want.
Yes. Well, and how nice that that's like message that we're sharing with children. I know plenty of adults that could use some of that messaging. So it gives me comfort. And again, maybe another reason I'm so excited to chat with you, because it gives me hope if others are embracing this and we're sort of raising the next generation to be more graceful or compassionate towards others. I think that that is so lacking right now. And it's so upsetting, honestly, that I love the idea of if people could lead sort of with the thought of compassion and grace and connection. And I like what you said. We all have special needs, right? Everybody's got something that makes them special or different, or requires them to be catered to in a different way at one time or another. And so I think that recognizing that would do all of us a world of good, and something that, again, if that can be taught and remembered and put in a place of happiness, by using music to achieve it, I think that, again, a win-win for everyone. It works out best case scenario style. So again, love that. Well, we're going to go ahead and round out the playlist with an artist that has appeared a whole lot of times on the show. We sort of kept it new and fresh with the first three, and now I'm bringing it home, with a song that not only is a song that I love just in general, but is a song that I feel kind of emulates what we've spoken about on the show today in terms of using music to create a connection and a ritual with your child. So my final pick today, the fourth song on our playlist, is a song called Songbird by Fleetwood Mac from their amazing Rumors album from 1977. If you've ever listened to this show even once, you've probably heard me talk about Fleetwood Mac. I love Fleetwood Mac, one of my all-time favorite bands. I love the Rumors album. I think it's one of the greatest albums ever released. I think Fleetwood Mac is a band that's packed with musicians that are at the top of their game. I love Stevie Nicks. I talk about her a lot. So I'm happy that this week I'm bringing a Christine McVie song with Songbird. And this is a song that right after my daughter was born, she's slept to music since she was born, really. I mean, she had maybe a white noise machine briefly, but really it's been music that she's slept to since she was a baby. And this song was on her sleepy time playlist that she still listens to as an almost adult. She'll be 18 at the end of this year. And this is something that always, now she creates her own sleepy time playlist. I don't create them for her anymore, sadly. And Songbird always features on it. And I just love that. I love that that's something that she and I have. Anytime we're anywhere and we hear this song, we think of one another. And so I'm wondering, is that, even though we sort of didn't follow through, I think about how magical it could have been had I really been able to do the, like the affectation work. I think that's so interesting, that first part of what your parenting methodology leans on, or sort of that first pillar or foundational pillar, because I think it's so important. And I believe you whenever you say that, like, your whole body needs to be involved in creating that connection, because I've seen it whenever, in my own house with my daughter, we're both singing this song and we're emoting and like feeling it. And it again, it takes us back to that moment of play we were speaking of earlier, that true sort of organic play. So you can take this and use it as like a beautiful lullaby to go to sleep. Or sometimes we use it as like a moment of silliness to like express that we're, just putting this very dramatic moment out in the world. Is that, I mean, I don't want to say okay, I know it's all okay, but does that still sort of fall under the methodology of what you think in terms of like creating those connections? I guess my question more, this might be a better way to ask it. Once they've sort of gone through the A through E methodology and done the three modules, is it okay to sort of freestyle it a little bit and like do what works for you in terms of like,
Oh,
using your own songs and creating those connections?
yeah. In fact, that's what my
Yeah,
hope is that
good.
these songs will spur parents' own creativity. I mean, most of these songs that I wrote were not with a guitar in my hand or at a piano. Most of them is literally when I was giving my my kid a bath, and I just started singing scrub, scrub, scrub in the tub. We're gonna scrub your feet and toes, get them smelling like
Yeah.
a rose, right? And it's like the lyrics would come out and the melody would come out, and I was like, hey, there's something here, and I just start singing it every night, So yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff was so organic in the moment, and then I realized, wow, like this is cool, and we start doing it and having a blast with it all the time. It became very interactive and very connecting. Like one of the songs that isn't necessary. It's not in my course, but when I would take my daughter out of the bathtub and wrap her when she was really small, I'd wrap her in a little towel, and I would sing our names, like we go to the mirror and I'd be like, it's Daddy and Neshama, woo, and then I'd flip her around and and Neshama and then she'd go Daddy, and I go woo, and flip her back to the other way, and it was just a little sing-songy
Yeah.
thing, right? It was just like in the moment, but she still, like, she remembers all of this stuff, right? Because again, like the ritual part of it, if you do something just once, it's not necessarily going to stick. But if you use music as a ritual, like I love the whole like sleepy time, like the songs that you did for sleepy time with your daughter, they like your daughter knows those songs. They will always be associated with the sweetness of connection with you at bedtime.
Yeah, it's so true. And the same, right? I think, we talk a lot about parenting as serving the child, and it does. But now that I'm sort of entering into this next phase of, empty nesting in a year and a half, I'm like trying to not say the actual number because it's pretty scary.
Mhm.
But soon she will be out on her own, and those songs and those connections that we have created, I think, will end up benefiting me more than her in some ways, right? And so I love that's the other, like, I think this is like a nice way to sort of wrap up our conversation today. But that was another thing that I loved, is that this seemed like something that could sustain both parent and child across a lifetime. Not just, here's something to do for the 3 to 6 year old age. Like this is a program that once you learn it, once you understand it, once you're able to incorporate it into your own family or your own parenting style, it really can sustain you and this connection that you have with your child forever. So I love that. I'm so grateful to you, Craig, for coming and spending some time with me to talk about this. Like I said, from the first second I saw your profile, I knew that I had to have you on the show to have a conversation about this. Anytime we can mix in music and more effective, happier parenting, those are two things that that are high on my list.
Nice. Well, thank you, Jen. It's such a pleasure to be on with you. I love what you're doing and spreading the message of the power of music. It really is extraordinary, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
No, thank you. Thank you. I so agree with that, and wouldn't spend, hours a week on this show if I, like you, did not believe in the power of music. But I think it is one of the most amazing transformative art forms that we have. And so that's why I'm here every week with guests like you and the amazing listeners. So definitely please continue to come back and enjoy the show. Craig, thank you so much for sharing what you're listening to. And listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Craig and his parenting A to E methodology, you can visit his website at parentingharmony.com. That's PARENTINGHARMONY, parentingharmony.com. On the website, you'll have access to a free interactive song list, a lyric sheet, a video explaining how to get the most out of the song that's attached, and then just a ton more info about, again, Craig's parenting A to E methodology. So definitely check that out. We'll also put links whenever I post on Instagram. We'll also put links in the show notes so that you guys can find Craig and all of his materials. As always, please be sure to follow, download, and share the show. And if you love listening, drop a review on Apple or Spotify. And definitely please stay in touch. You can reach out always on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. You can send emails to Jenn at Super Awesome Mix. That's JENN at Super Awesome Mix. We love your feedback. And if you don't have time to comment, then at least follow us so that you can stay informed on all things What Are You Listening To and Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.